You speak of struggle like it's a verdict. I learned early it was training. While the world tiptoed around its fears, I stared mine down until they blinked first. Where others begged for light, I learned to see in the dark. Where others prayed for escape, I dug my hands into the walls of the abyss until my nails turned into claws. Every sleepless night, every empty room, every whisper meant to bury me became a forge. And in that forge, I wasn't just surviving, I was reshaping. They call it pain, I call it blueprint. They call it loneliness, I call it silence with no witnesses. And in that silence, I became something they never prepared for, a being who no longer needs the crowd, the applause, or the illusion of safety to exist. They told themselves the pressure would crush me. They didn't understand pressure makes diamonds. They thought the darkness would devour me. They didn't know the darkness fed me discipline, precision, and patience. They imagined I'd crawl back, softer, hungrier for validation. But I walked out harder, colder, sharper than regret itself. They expected a return. They got an evolution. Now every scar is a map of battles they'll never survive. Every betrayal a compass I navigate without flinching. They thought my silence was weakness. It was war plans. They thought my stillness was surrender. It was the moment before the strike. I don't rise for applause. I rise because I was built to stand where others collapse. I don't speak to be heard. I speak because silence itself obeys me now. They call me ruthless because I no longer offer them access to my warmth. They call me distant because they can't reach me. But the truth is, I'm not hiding, I'm not avoiding, I'm not gone. I simply ascended to a level where their noise can't follow. Power doesn't beg, it breathes. And I breathe calmly now. Not because I am safe, but because I am inevitable. They see composure. They don't see how many storms I walk through alone just to stand still. They see control. They don't see the chains I shattered with my own hands. They fear me not because I roar, but because I don't have to. Not because I threaten, but because I embody what they can't break. I am not revenge. I am the result of what happens when pain outlasts every excuse. I am not a cry for help. I am the silence that follows when every weak excuse has died out. You can't defeat someone who no longer fears pain. You can't break someone who has befriended the abyss. They prepared for someone desperate, someone craving redemption, someone still reaching for the light. But I outgrew the illusion. I am not a plea, I am a sentence. Not a storm, but what survives the storm. Not a man, but a monument. And now when my name is spoken, it's not in casual tones, but in a hush heavy with memory. Memory of the access they squandered, the warnings they ignored, the softness they mistook for weakness. I didn't disappear, I descended. I didn't crumble, I calculated. And what returned wasn't a survivor. It wasn't a comeback, it was a command. They expected loud. What came back was quieter than vengeance and sharper than regret. No rants, no rage. Just a controlled storm behind calm eyes. And in that calm they see everything they underestimated. Everything they couldn't break. Everything they can't touch anymore. I don't move to prove anything, I move because it's time. Not with urgency, but with inevitability. And every step forward is a reminder I am not waiting for justice. I am justice. The kind that doesn't ask for fairness, but corrects imbalance without warning. They called me broken until they saw how solid I became. They called me distant until they realized I was done performing. Now they call me cold. But clarity feels like cold to people who live in denial. I didn't rise to be liked, I rose for the silence. For the peace that comes when no one has access to your destruction anymore. Let them knock. Let them wonder. Let them whisper about the shadow they helped create. Because now the gates are closed. The kingdom is locked. And the one who once gave it all without question has become the answer they cannot afford. They wanted survival. I became sovereign. They wanted remorse. I became relentless. They wanted the past. I became the consequence. And now they don't face a man. They face a force that answers to no one. They face a reckoning forged in the dark. Not because the dark broke me, because it sharpened me into a weapon. They wanted a broken man to parade back through their doors so they could close it behind him and breathe a little easier. They wanted a scarred apology, an explanation wrapped in tears and good intentions. Instead, I returned with no plea and no pardon. I returned as a ledger they cannot erase, every slight catalogued, every lie archived, every door they shut fastened in their own negligence. There's a precision now to my movements born from the long apprenticeship in darkness. Nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. I do not stumble into confrontation, I arrange it. I do not wait for permission, I command the terms. Where they built safety on the quicksand of cowardice, I built strategy on bedrock. Where they traded in illusions, I trade in consequences. They mistook my absence for weakness, it was patience sharpening into inevitability. Listen to those of you who think the world owes you light. Stop asking. Start making. The world will not hand you a map. You carve one from the bones of your defeats. Use your scars as currency. Let every betrayal teach you the coordinates to their greed. There's a different kind of victory that doesn't gleam with trophies or shout in headlines. It settles heavy in the chest and rearranges the room when you enter. It's quieter, meaner, truer. It's the kind of victory that removes access. It's sovereignty. Do not mistake absence for cowardice. Absence is a measured instrument when used by the disciplined. Absence is what sharpens want into ache, and ache into action. And to those who would test what you are now, do not be surprised when your gestures of domination meet with a calm that does not break. They will try familiar tactics, pity, guilt, the old scripts used to soften you. Watch them as they scramble for the seams you no longer offer. They will become frantic because the old methods fail. You have replaced their currency with a new law, accountability. You will not be their rehearsal for tomorrow's apologies. You will not be their safety valve. You are the final exam they never studied for. When they knock pleading for the version of you that performed, let the echo of that knocking teach them how hollow their faith was. There is a romance people adore about redemption. A softening, a return to light. But redemption is often just permission to repeat the same crime with cleaner hands. I have no appetite for cycles. I have a taste for endings. If you desire change, do not ask the world to write it for you. Write it yourself with the ink of discipline and the stamps of consequence. Build so thoroughly that regret becomes a visitor who cannot find the address. Harden your will with routine until mercy is a choice, not a reflex. Train your reactions until chaos recognizes the pattern and backs away. Be the lock they cannot pick, the map they cannot decode, the silence that will not be bargained with. So go. Move through the world with the stillness of one who has already survived the worst and learn to love the work it takes to remain unmatched. Let your presence unsettle those who mistook your softness for availability. Let your calm be the prelude to a lesson in consequence. Let them whisper about you in the rooms where they once mocked you. Let those whispers gather like fog and never reach you. You are not a plea. You are not an echo. You are the original sound they can't reproduce. Clear, final, undeniable. The darkness did not break you. It honed you. The silence did not weaken you. It steeled you. Now move like what you have become. Inevitable, unbargained for, and absolute. They still hope you'll slip, don't they? Deep down, they cling to the fantasy that one misstep will undo everything you've built. But they don't understand. You don't walk the way you used to. You don't sprint to prove or crawl to survive. You move like tectonic plates, slow, massive, unstoppable. And when you shift, worlds crack, bridges collapse, old alliances disintegrate into dust. Every step forward you take isn't just a motion, it's a message. I'm not coming back. I'm not circling the same grave. They keep looking for a weakness to press, but weakness was burned out of you long ago. All that's left now is the marrow of purpose and the muscle of inevitability. They call you cold, but cold isn't a flaw. Cold preserves, cold cuts clean. Cold keeps you from bleeding out for people who once fed on your warmth. They don't see that your silence is a blade and it slices through their noise without effort. They don't see that your calm is a fortress built stone by stone from nights they thought you wouldn't survive. They don't see that every time they mocked you, every time they doubted you, they poured steel into your spine and inked your name onto their nightmares. And now you don't even need to fight for attention. You are the attention. You walk in and the air shifts. You stand still and time slows. They whisper, but their whispers can't reach you. They try to measure you, but the old units no longer apply. They tell stories about the old you, hoping to shrink the new one into a myth they can manage. But myths don't breathe, and you're still breathing. Myths don't move, and you're still moving. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. Let them pretend you're heartless because they can't stomach what you've become. You are not heartless. You're heart accurate. You're precise. You've learned who deserves your fire and who only deserves your absence. And that's what scares them the most. The way you cut without bleeding, the way you build without boasting, the way you move without mercy but never from malice. They wanted a tragedy they could pity. They got a monument they have to respect. They wanted a cautionary tale. They got a standard they'll never meet. They wanted you broken. Instead, you've become the quiet teacher no one asked for, but everyone will learn from. And the lesson is this: you don't survive the dark by waiting for rescue. You survive by becoming your own rescue. You survive by forging yourself into something the dark itself bows to. So stand. Stand in the silence they gave you and let it echo back as power. Stand in the shadow they cursed you to and let it shape you into form they can't comprehend. Stand without apology, because this is what the shadow was always for, not to end you, but to build you into something unshakable, unrepeatable, undeniable. They thought the shadow was a coffin. It was a forge. And now forged, you don't rise for approval. You rise because you're already the consequence. Every scar on my body is a line of scripture, written in pain, read in power. Every wound healed crooked on purpose, a reminder that perfection was never the point, survival was. And now I don't move for revenge, I move for precision. I am not chasing balance, I am enforcing it. I am not screaming at the world, I am rearranging it, brick by cowardly brick. They thought the darkness would consume me. Instead, it crowned me. They thought pain would define me. It refined me. They thought silence meant defeat. It meant preparation. I have no interest in peace that demands my submission. I have no love for order that thrives on obedience. I am the disobedient creation, the son of struggle, the architect of aftermath. I am not a lesson. I am the end of the curriculum. You don't study me. You survive me. So let the world watch. Let them whisper. Let them tremble when I pass. I do not march for applause. I march for legacy. Every breath I take is a declaration I endured. Every step I take is a warning I am still here. And every silence I allow is not surrender. It's strategy. I am the consequence of every betrayal, the echo of every lie, the ghost of every time they underestimated what the dark could make of a man. I am not the storm anymore. I am what the storm left behind, sharpened, sovereign, unyielding. They don't even realize it yet, but every time they whisper your name now, it's not gossip, it's a warning. They tell it like a ghost story, like something kids dare each other to say out loud 3 times in a mirror. They've stopped trying to figure you out. They've started trying to stay out of your way. And that's exactly where you wanted them, not because you plotted revenge, but because you outgrew their games. They still hope you'll flinch, but you've learned there's no flinching when you've already burned. There's no breaking when you've already been broken and remade. You're not brittle anymore. You're forged steel walking in human skin. This isn't a return, this isn't a comeback, this is the reveal. The part where the masks come off, the lights flicker, and everyone realizes the quiet one they underestimated has been holding the blueprint the entire time. This is where the roles reverse without a single scream. No fireworks, no grand speech, just presence, heavy, undeniable, final. You don't need to announce yourself, the air shifts when you walk in. You don't need to threaten, the silence before your words is enough. That's what terrifies them now. Not what you say, but what you don't need to say anymore. Because the truth is, you're not chasing power. You are power. You're not seeking justice, you are the correction. You're not demanding respect, you are the standard. They keep thinking there's some plea hiding behind your eyes, some flicker of the old you waiting to crawl back. There isn't. That person died. What walks now is the echo of everything they thought would destroy you, reorganized into form, sharpened into purpose. You don't just walk into a room anymore, you reset it. Let them tell their stories. Let them warn their children. Let them pray the shadow doesn't notice them. You are not their monster. You are their mirror. You reflect back every weakness, every cowardice, every illusion they hid behind while you were training in silence. You didn't learn how to fight in the dark. You learned how to become it. And now there's nothing left to prove, nothing left to explain, nothing left to negotiate. So when you move like inevitability. When you speak like law. When you breathe like a verdict. You are no longer waiting for permission to exist. You are no longer hoping for a seat at their table. You built your own throne out of the stones they threw. And now when the door swings open and they see you standing there, they won't see a man. They'll see the consequence. They'll see the reckoning. They'll see the weapon the darkness sharpened and unleashed. So tell them, I didn't just survive the dark, I married it. And now every dawn that rises answers to me. They just have to feel it every time your shadow crosses theirs. Because now, whether they whisper it or not, everyone knows the truth. The darkness didn't break you, it built you. And what it built doesn't bow. Like, comment, and subscribe.